Arnold is the 7th prince of the Ardrasia Empire, but he spends most of his time pretending to be an adventurer out in the country because he hates the prince's life. But one day, he is suddenly called back by the family butler, Seabass, and informed that General Dominic has died. This immediately gets Arnold's attention, so he asks Seabass if he thinks this was an assassination. Seabass says he isn't sure since information on the matter is still scarce, but he does think someone orchestrated it since not much effort is being put into looking for the culprit. Arnold plans to head back to check things out for himself, but before that, he still has a quest to finish here. So he puts on his adventurer disguise and heads down to take out the Minotaur he was hunting. Normally, he'd like to have a little more fun with his battles, but since he's in a hurry right now, he decides to finish this quickly. So he hits the Minotaur with an anti-gravity spell, and while it is floating uncontrollably in the air, Arnold proceeds to hit it with 3 spells at once, killing it instantly. A little while later, Arnold heads over to the guild to report the success of his mission, and as proof, he carries the horn of the Minotaur in. The other guild patrons are all amazed that he was able to take a Minotaur down all by himself, but the receptionist doesn't seem surprised at all since this much is to be expected from one of the Empire's 5 SS rank adventurers. Arnold then drops a few gold coins on the counter and says he's buying a round of drinks for everyone there, including the receptionist, and in exchange, he'd like to be given top priority next time there's a high difficulty quest available, a request which everyone is more than happy to accommodate. Once his business at the guild has been settled, Arnold heads into a dark alley, takes off his adventurer disguise, and then opens a portal so he can finally return to the capital to handle things over there. Once he's back, the first thing he does is meet with the 8th prince, his brother Leonard, to find out what's going on. He asks Leonard if it's true that Dominic is really dead, and Leonard confirms it. He feels guilty because the only reason Dominic died was because Dominic was on his side. Arnold asks if Leonard has any idea who could have been behind it, but Leonard says he isn't sure. In that case, Arnold asks him what he intends to do about it, and Leonard says he'd rather avoid fighting within the family, which is a response Arnold was expecting. But he tells Leonard that if he doesn't join the fight for the throne like the rest of their siblings, then he's going to be targeted by the others until they have wiped out his faction entirely, and that includes Arnold, and their mother as well. Leonard understands Arnold's point, so he apologizes for being so indecisive until now and declares that he will officially join the fight for the throne. Arnold is glad to hear it, and assures Leonard that he will help him every step along the way, and their first order of business will be to build themselves a strong fighting force so no one can threaten Leonard's life. To that end, Arnold says he's going out to recruit allies, but he tells Leonard not to get his hopes up because almost all the powerful nobles are already allied with the other factions. Leonard says he understands and thanks Arnold for his help, but honestly, Leonard thinks Arnold would be a far better fit for an imperial candidate since he's much more capable than Leonard is. But Arnold shuts that idea down quickly, because all he wants is to live a quiet life and get married someday, and he can't do that if he's the emperor, so he needs Leonard to become the emperor instead. Later on, Arnold is talking with Seabass, and Seabass asks why he didn't inform Leonard that he is actually an SS rank adventurer, but Arnold says there's no way he could do that because ancient magic is forbidden among the members of the royal family, and Arnold's entire adventurer kit revolves around ancient magic, so if he were to reveal himself, it would only cause trouble for Leonard's faction. Even so, Seabass reminds Arnold that his adventurer persona is considered one of the most powerful people in the nation, so he's sure that having someone like that on his side would be advantageous to Leonard, taboo or not, and Arnold is aware of that, but he still wants to leave it as a last resort. Besides, he would prefer it if people kept thinking he was nothing but an inept prince because it is easier to defeat an opponent who underestimates you. He asks Seabass if there are still any noble households that haven't sided with the other factions, and Seabass informs him that there is only one, the Kleinert family. Arnold is surprised to hear this since the Kleinerts are a rather big household, so he wonders why they haven't sided with any faction yet. He knows there must be some reason for it, so he asks Seabass if he knows any details, and Seabass informs him that their territory is currently suffering from an invasion of magical beasts, and they are nowhere near resolving the issue, so they haven't had time to get involved with the royal selection battle yet. Arnold thinks it would be a good idea if he went there in his adventurer outfit to take care of their problem and say Leonard was the one who sent him, so they will be in his debt. Seabass warns him that such a plan would risk the Kleinerts becoming wary of Leonard, because they may fear the fact that he has the capability of deploying an SS rank adventurer. But Arnold thinks an outcome like that would be perfect, because if people believe this faction has the backing of an SS rank adventurer, then the enemy will think twice before making any moves again. He just needs to be careful to make sure no one makes the connection between the adventurer, Silver, and him. He then puts on his adventuring outfit and prepares to pay the Duke of Kleinert a visit, but before he goes, Seabass warns him to be careful because the Kleinert's daughter is the Blaumau, a person who received the blue gull from his father at one point. She is also extremely pretty, so Seabass warns Arnold not to fold under any circumstances if she tries to charm him. Arnold assures him that he doesn't need that kind of lecture from him, and he then teleports over to the Duke's mansion, but as he is about to head in, he is stopped at the front gate. The guard demands to know who he is, and Arnold explains that he is the SS rank adventurer, Silver, but the guard doesn't believe him because if an adventurer of such high rank were to come here, the guild would have mentioned it beforehand. Silver says he is here on orders from Prince Leonard, and he then reaches into his jacket and is about to pull out his guild card as proof of his identity, but the guard arrogantly stops him and tells him to get lost. For a moment, Silver begins thinking about possible ways to get around this idiot, and he tells him that refusing to let him in is an insult against both him and Prince Leonard, but just then, he notices the Duke's daughter looking at him through the window, and he realizes that she really is as beautiful as the rumors say because one look at her, and he already feels like folding even though they haven't said a word to each other yet. Silver decides to leave for now and teleports back to the castle, and Seabass is surprised to see that he returns so soon, but he explains that there has been a change of plans, so now, instead of Silver paying them a visit, it's going to be Arnold, and since that guard rudely refused to let Silver in despite him being there to help, Arnold now has all the leverage he will need to force the Duke into a deal. It takes Arnold around 5 days to get to the Kleinert domain since he can't let people know he can teleport, and once he arrives, he immediately meets with the Duke. The Duke says it's nice to see Arnold again since the last time he saw him was when he was 10 years old, and he asks what brings him to his domain today, so Arnold says he's here to collect compensation. The Duke asks him what he's talking about, but Arnold yells and tells him not to play dumb because Prince Leonard, out of the kindness of his heart, had heard about the beast invasion the Duke's suffering and decided to ask the adventurer Silver for help, yet the Duke disrespectfully sent him away. The Duke stands up in a panic when he hears Arnold mention the name Silver because he recognizes it as the name of the famous SS rank adventurer, and he asks if someone like that really came all the way out there because he didn't hear anything about it. Arnold yells and asks if the Duke is trying to call him a liar, and Seabass plays along, acting as the good cop and telling Arnold that it is possible the Duke really isn't aware of what happened, so he says it might be a good idea to give the Duke some time to go investigate the matter and get to the bottom of it. Arnold agrees to allow it, so the Duke leaves to go ask around regarding the matter, and once he is out of the room, Arnold smiles because this is exactly how he had hoped this would play out. A little while later, Arnold hears the Duke yelling at his son, and shortly after that, the Duke drags his son in to apologize to Arnold. He explains that he had left his son in charge of watching the gate a couple of days ago as a character-building exercise, and a man claiming to be Silver had shown up, but his son sent him away unceremoniously. The Duke's son says no one would have expected an SS rank adventurer to show up out of the blue, so he thought it had to have been an imposter, but the Duke tells him that it is still no excuse for refusing to confirm his identity before chasing him away. Arnold then speaks up and asks the Duke how he intends to make this right because, after suffering disrespect of that level, Silver might not want to work with Leonard anymore. The Duke realizes how serious the situation is, so he offers his life to atone for what happened, but Arnold says he doesn't want the Duke's life, nor does he want his son's life, because things like that are of no benefit to him. Just then, the Duke's daughter rushes into the room and asks Arnold if he will accept their apology if she offers to give herself to him. The Duke pleads with Arnold not to do anything to Finn because she doesn't know what she's talking about, but Finn tells everyone she happened to see Silver for a moment the day he came there, and she did nothing to prevent this situation, so she is just as guilty as everyone else. Both the Duke and his son beg Arnold to leave Finn out of this and punish them instead because they are the ones at fault, and Seabass tells Arnold that, given how sincere they are being in their apology, he may want to consider being lenient with them. Arnold asks him what exactly they are supposed to do if Silver refuses to help them after what happened, but Seabass says Silver is a loyal man, so he surely wouldn't turn his back on Leonard over a minor issue like this. In addition, he's sure that Leonard himself would be more than willing to forgive the Duke and his family since it was an honest mistake. Arnold pretends to think things over and then tells the Duke to arrange for someone to find Silver so he can talk to him on their behalf. He and Finn end up going out to meet Silver, and to make this believable, Arnold creates a double Lelouch-style illusion to act as Silver while he is also present so Finn never suspects that he is actually the real Silver. He has Silver act disappointed and say that he only came there to help because Leonard asked him to, yet they disrespected him so blatantly. That said, he still has a duty to Leonard's request, so as long as Arnold manages to get the Duke to swear loyalty to Leonard in the royal selection, he is willing to save the territory. Arnold says he hasn't actually managed to get a promise from the Duke yet regarding that matter, but he's sure the Duke will be willing to offer his support if Silver helps. However, Silver says he's not ready to trust the Duke's word alone because he may betray them at any moment, so until he signs a binding contract, Silver won't be lifting a finger to help. Hearing that, Arnold lowers his head and pleads with Silver to save the territory first because more lives will be lost if they wait, and seeing Arnold plead on their territory's behalf really tugs at Finn's heartstrings and makes her believe Arnold is a truly caring man. At Arnold's insistence, Silver eventually agrees to take on the job and eliminate the monsters first, but he tells Finn that he's counting on her to convince the Duke's family to side with Leonard because he wouldn't be doing this otherwise. After that, Arnold and Finn are set to leave, but before Arnold gets in the carriage with Finn, Seabass tells him he's impressed by the fact that he was able to create a magical illusion to act as Silver because he has never seen anything like it before, and Arnold's acting back there was top-notch as well because he almost had Seabass believing the whole situation was real. A little while later, Arnold arrives at the portion of the domain where the slime infestation is strongest, and although each individual slime may not pose much of a threat, with this many of them in one place, it becomes really dangerous. An adventurer party consisting of 2 A ranks and 4 B ranks had already been sent out to help handle the situation, but they lacked the firepower necessary to destroy the mother slime that is producing all these smaller slimes. Silver doesn't want to be rude, so he asks them if they are willing to step aside and let him handle this quest instead, and the leader of the party recognizes him as an SS rank adventurer, so he tells him to go right ahead since none of them are strong enough to do it. The leader feels a bit frustrated by how weak and powerless he was to fix the situation there, but Silver assures him that his presence wasn't useless because if he and his team hadn't been there, then the infestation would have spread far more than it already had. Silver turns toward the direction of the mother slime, raises his hand, and casts an ancient spell that destroys everything in that direction, including the mother slime. He then turns back to the party and tells them they can take credit for this if they want since he isn't really interested in the whole glory thing, and after that, he teleports back to his room. He then takes off his mask so he can finally relax, but unbeknownst to him, Finn had actually come to his room looking for him, so she sees him take his outfit off and realizes that he is Silver.